You've seen it 100 times. Your phone is at 15, then 10%, then 5%. You know it's coming, so you're careful, you dim the screen, you stop the music, you hold your breath, and then 1%, and then nothing. Dead. Black screen. Not 0, not even 2. Exactly 1%. Now, here's the question nobody stops to ask. Why 1? If your battery is dying, why doesn't it run all the way down to 0? What's actually happening inside that little bar? And most importantly, is the percentage your phone is showing you even real? Because here's the thing, it isn't. The number on your screen is not a direct measurement of how much energy is left in your battery. It's an estimate, a calculated guess. And understanding why that guess exists, and why it always seems to fail at the worst possible moment, takes us deep into the physics of lithium-ion batteries, the limits of modern engineering, and one deliberate design decision Apple, Samsung, and every other phone maker agreed on. Let's break it down. Iction 2. Your battery is not a fuel tank. To understand why your phone dies at 1%, you first need to understand what your battery actually is, because most people have the wrong mental model completely. We think of a battery like a fuel tank. Full at 100, empty at 0. Predictable, linear, easy. But a lithium-ion battery, the kind in every smartphone made in the last 15 years, doesn't work like that at all. Inside your battery, there's a chemical reaction happening constantly. When you charge it, lithium ions move from one electrode to another, from the cathode to the anode. When you use it, they move back. That flow of ions is what generates electricity. Now here's the critical part. The amount of energy produced by that chemical reaction is not constant. It changes depending on how many ions are left, the temperature of your battery, how old the battery is, and even how fast you're draining it. So how does your phone know how much battery is left? It measures the voltage. When your battery is full, its voltage is high, around 4.2 volts. When it's nearly empty, the voltage drops to around 3.0 volts. Your phone's operating system constantly monitors this voltage and uses it to calculate a percentage. The problem? Voltage doesn't drop in a straight line. At the start, from 100% down to about 20%, voltage drops slowly and predictably. Your phone can estimate the percentage pretty accurately. But as you get closer to empty, the voltage curve gets steep and unstable. Tiny changes in what you're doing, opening an app, turning on the camera, dropping to a cold environment, can cause sudden, dramatic drops in voltage. This is where your phone's battery percentage starts becoming less of a reading and more of a guess. Section 3. The fuel gauge problem. Every phone has a dedicated chip called a fuel gauge IC, or sometimes a battery management system. Its entire job is to track battery level as accurately as possible. This chip uses a combination of two methods. The first is voltage-based estimation, what we just talked about. Measure the voltage, look it up on a curve, and output a percentage. The second is Coulomb counting. The chip tracks how many electrons have flowed in and out of the battery over time, literally counting charge the way a water meter counts gallons. This is more accurate, but it accumulates errors over time, especially as batteries age. The chip combines both methods and runs them through a mathematical model, called a state of charge algorithm, to produce what it believes is the most accurate percentage possible. But here's what makes this genuinely hard. Battery chemistry varies between individual cells. Even two batteries from the same factory, same batch, same model, won't behave identically. Temperature affects voltage. A cold battery looks less charged than it actually is, which is why your phone dies faster in winter. Battery aging changes the whole curve. A 2-year-old battery behaves completely differently from a new one, even if it shows the same percentage. And high drain activities, like running GPS and streaming video simultaneously, can cause voltage to drop faster than the algorithm expects. The result? By the time your phone shows you 1%, the chip is already working at the edge of what it can reliably calculate. The percentage has been drifting, subtly, invisibly, for the last few percentage points. And this is where Apple, Samsung, Google, and every other manufacturer made a very deliberate engineering choice. Section 4. The deliberate buffer. Here is the most important thing in this entire video. When your phone shows 0%, it doesn't mean your battery is empty. Every major smartphone manufacturer builds what's called a low battery cutoff, a voltage threshold below which the phone will shut itself down, even if there is technically still charge left in the battery. Why? Because allowing a lithium-ion battery to fully discharge all the way to true zero damages it permanently. At very low voltages, the chemical reactions inside the battery become unstable. Lithium plating can occur on the anode, which degrades capacity. The electrolyte inside can break down. In extreme cases, a deeply discharged lithium battery can be completely unrecoverable. It simply won't charge again. So manufacturers set the cutoff well above true empty. Typically, when your phone shows 0% and shuts down, there's still somewhere between 3 and 10% of actual charge remaining, intentionally reserved and locked away by software to protect the battery's long-term health. Think of it like a car's fuel warning light. When the light comes on, your tank isn't empty. You might have 30 or 40 miles of range left. The light is a safety warning, a buffer zone engineered to give you time to act before a real problem occurs. Your phone's 0% is the same thing. It's not zero. It's the floor that the software decided is safe. Now add to this another layer, the buffer around 1%. When your phone hits 1%, the operating system is simultaneously doing several things. It's reducing CPU performance to extend life. It's cutting background app refresh. It may be turning off some radios. And critically, it's monitoring voltage more aggressively. Because the curve is now so steep that a single burst of high CPU usage, like unlocking your phone and opening an app, can cause voltage to spike downward hard enough to cross the shutdown threshold instantly. That's why it feels so sudden. That's why 1% to death feels like a cliff. Because it is, voltage-wise, basically a cliff. Section 5. Why different phones act differently. You've probably noticed that your friend's phone seems to hold 1% forever, while yours dies the moment it hits 2%. This isn't just in your head. Different manufacturers calibrate their fuel gauge algorithms differently. Apple is known for being conservative. iPhones tend to call it quits at a higher residual charge, which is why they also tend to have more consistent battery health over time. Android phones vary massively. A Samsung may handle the low battery cliff differently than a Google Pixel, which handles it differently from a OnePlus. Software updates also change this behavior. Apple has adjusted its battery percentage reporting multiple times over iOS versions. If you noticed your phone's battery life seeming to change after an update, it may not be because the battery changed. It may be because the algorithm that estimates the percentage got recalibrated. Battery age matters enormously here too. A new battery has a well-characterized voltage curve. The fuel gauge algorithm was built with that curve in mind. But after a year or two of charging and discharging, the curve shifts. The algorithm becomes less accurate. That's why older phones feel like their battery percentage becomes unpredictable, jumping from 20% to 5% in minutes. It's not that the battery is broken, it's that the algorithm's model of the battery no longer matches the reality of the battery. This is also why recalibrating your battery, fully discharging and then fully charging it, used to be recommended on older nickel-metal hydride batteries. With lithium-ion, it doesn't fix the underlying chemistry, but it can help the fuel gauge algorithm relearn the current shape of the voltage curve. Most modern phones actually do this automatically in the background. Section 6. The cold weather mystery. There's one more piece to this puzzle that explains a very specific experience. Your phone dying faster in winter. Cold temperatures directly affect lithium-ion battery performance. Not permanently, but in real time. At low temperatures, the lithium ions inside the battery move more slowly. The internal resistance of the battery increases. This means the battery delivers less power per unit of charge, and the voltage drops faster under load. The result is that your phone's fuel gauge reads lower than reality when it's cold. The battery may have the same amount of charge as it would at room temperature, but the voltage it's delivering at that moment is lower, so the chip calculates a lower percentage. This is why you can take a phone that died in the cold, bring it indoors, and watch it come back to life with a few percent of battery. The charge was always there. The temperature was making the battery perform below its actual level. Apple specifically addresses this in their documentation, noting that iPhone batteries are designed to work best between 16 degrees Celsius and 22 degrees Celsius. And that performance outside that range, especially in the cold, will cause the reported percentage to drop faster than usual. The battery didn't actually lose more charge. The chemistry just slowed down, and the algorithm interpreted that as a lower state of charge. Section 7. Takeaway and outrow. So let's bring it all together. Your phone dies at 1%, not 0, because of a stack of deliberate engineering decisions layered on top of genuinely difficult chemistry. The percentage you see isn't a direct measurement. It's an algorithm's best estimate based on voltage, charge tracking, temperature, and battery age. That estimate becomes less reliable as you approach empty, because the voltage curve gets steep and unstable. So manufacturers set a conservative shutdown threshold, a buffer, to protect the battery from deep discharge damage. And the system shuts down before that threshold is reached, at a moment when the algorithm can no longer reliably predict exactly how much is left. Your 0% has a charge in it. Your 1% is already an estimate. And the cliff between them exists because your battery is a complex electrochemical system that no software model can perfectly track. In real time, the number on your screen is a best guess, a remarkably good one most of the time, but at the edges, in the cold with an aging battery, during a burst of heavy use, it's a guess that can fail, and that's why 1% always feels like it comes out of nowhere. If you found this useful, the next time someone says their phone died at 1%, you'll know exactly what to tell them. And if you want to know something else that happens every day that nobody actually understands, stick around. There's a lot more where this came from.